how long before this video gets pulled? It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, with a review of Doctor Who Series 12, Episode 7, Can You Hear Me? Or Can You Hear Me Now? With the Verizon guy, or subtitled, I'm gonna finger you in your sleep. Yeah, oh my god, the jokes with this episode just practically invent themselves, and it's just, oh my god. Again, it's an okay episode. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just in between there. More middle of the road filler stuff from Chris Chibnall here. Basically, what we have is a Nightmare Man scenario, or a Nightmare couple. There are things in this episode that really just, again, are kind of redundant and don't really add to this story. There's this woman from Aleppo in the 1300s who, and the whole episode is kind of like a metaphor for mental illness. It kind of tries to do what Vincent and the Doctor did way back in Series 5, back in 2010, but doesn't quite get there because
it insists upon itself.
Again, the message kind of just falls flat, seems heavy-handed, and doesn't really lend itself. It doesn't flow organically. It's an interesting attempt, don't get me wrong. I mean, and I applaud it, but the way they went about it just kind of felt like they're just going through the motions. The Doctor and the companions are, taking a break. The companions are all, going back to their lives just to kind of reconnect with their loved ones. Graham is visiting his buddies playing poker. Not really talking much. They bring up how he's coping without Grace. He kind of blows it off. Yaz is dealing with some issues related to her past. Ryan is trying to help out a friend who's obviously got some mental health issues, dealing with anxiety and being a recluse and a shut-in. But, it's all basically kind of tied to this girl in Aleppo in the 1300s who is actually in one of the earliest medieval mental health hospitals, essentially. The girl's got a kleptomania problem. She's suffering from PTSD, lost her parents in a war, basically there to try and get her life back together. The place is attacked by these monsters that initially only she can see, but then they make themselves seen. And they're kind of like these hybrid sloth slash ape creatures. And this is also an episode where they kind of abandoned their traditional special effects crew and went with another one. And it kind of shows because it's a lot lower budget and a lot cheaper looking. But, suffice to say, the way the episode progresses, everyone is seeing this weird guy in black who is tormenting them in their dreams. He can detach his fingers and send them flying to you. Where apparently they suck out your nightmares and use them to fuel this construct that's caught between two colliding planets. And it turns out that the guy in black is an immortal, calls himself Zellum, and his partner, who's trapped in the sphere between the two colliding planets, is another nightmare entity. Basically, they set themselves up as gods among two warring planets. They had their fun, but the people rebelled and they finally managed to imprison one of them in this construct. And so the Nightmare Man Zellum is manipulating events to try and get her released, which he does. And then, of course, they spend a lot more time talking than they really should, and the Doctor takes that time to come up with a trick to get them both trapped in the construct, along with the physical manifestation of Aleppo Girl's nightmare. So, again, the episode really tries to do some justice to the topic of mental health, but it really does not solidify. It doesn't gel and come together the way it should.
It insists upon itself.
And so a lot of people who are complaining about the episode, kind of voiced that, it really doesn't do all that much, not in the way that Vincent and the Doctor did. Honestly, I have to concur, because really, this episode, if you're going to do a filler episode, fine, whatever, but you've had basically 3 filler episodes in the series so far that have felt like filler, and in a series that's only 10 episodes, why are you doing that? And why are you doing things in such a ham-handed manner that the message at the end of the story just kind of is laid out, but it's so obvious? So, I mean, there's a subplot with Yaz where it flashes back to 3 years prior, where she ran away. She met this police officer, a woman who inspired her to actually become a police officer herself. So, makes a bet with her. He's like, I'm going to bet you 50 quid that you're going to do this and get your life together and then come back and see me, and we'll figure out, where to go from there. And then with Ryan, he's dealing issues with his friend. He's kind of blaming him for staying away so long, which is, I mean, it's not unnatural to do that because, well, let's face it, Ryan's been off gallivanting around the universe with the Doctor and his friends. So, yeah, I mean, he's been kind of an absentee friend and has it coming. But, he's there now. He's trying to help his friend, but he doesn't really know how because the guy's afraid to leave his apartment. And there's only so much you can do when you can barely get the guy to open the door. And the actor playing this friend of Ryan's is really good, though. I mean, he actually pulls it off brilliantly. You can tell, I mean, there are little signs, the state of the apartment, the way he crinkles up this empty pop can, got some issues that he's trying to work through, but he's having a hard time of it. That guy was actually very good. The guy they had playing the Nightmare Man, he also did the voice of the Living Rags in the Ghost Monument back in Series 11. So he got to come back for Series 12 and play an actual physical role. He did a bang-up job, but, he wasn't really given much to work with. He comes across as just some creepy old guy who can detach his fingers and send them after you. It's like... and even then, there's a moment where he has a chance to be truly scary where, once the two nightmare gods are free, they finally decide to pick on this one little girl who's having nightmares about the boogeyman, and then he shows up and says, oh, by the way, your father lied, I am the boogeyman, and then he... super creepy connotation that I'm not even going to bother elaborating on. Just, watch the episode if you haven't already, do the math. Makes me wonder, that this really could have been done a lot better by a more competent writer and a more competent director, but none of it really feels sincere. It feels like it's been forced. And again, takes way too long to get to the action, and when it does, the ending feels kind of rushed. Now, again, you've got an episode format that is almost an hour long. You could have gone ahead and taken that and said, look, we're going to trim the fat here and get to the episode. Maybe we can end it in like maybe 45 minutes or so, but you really got to pick up the pacing, and you have to be able to get from point A to point B in a way that keeps going, and also do characterizations that don't feel so artificial and forced. I mean, we get this thing about Yaz having issues herself, and, she and her sister are celebrating the 3-year anniversary of her running away. I'm not sure why that's a thing, because, I mean, why do they do that? And it's never really explained, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're going to give some stuff to Yaz, and personally I think it's a long time overdue, because Yaz is the least developed of the 3 companions, and we really needed an episode, kind of devoted to her, but again, she's kind of having to divide time between her story arc and Ryan's and Graham's, and it just is suffering from that. And I think that's a shame, because all 3 characters have a great deal of potential for development here, but there's 3 of them, and so you can only devote so much time to fleshing each of them out and telling their stories, and it's coming across in the writing. I mean, we also had a nice scene where Graham's nightmare is his cancer is returning. Grace is there to tell him he's only got a couple of hours to live, and, then why didn't you save me? So then, that leads, by the end of the episode, Graham is, trying to confide in the Doctor that he's afraid of his cancer coming back, even though intellectually he knows, okay, yeah, I mean, I keep going for routine checkups, they assure me the cancer's gone, it's not coming back yet, but, it's always a possibility that cancer could come back. Kind of like pouring his heart out to the Doctor, and the Doctor's like, okay, I'm still super awkward at this, I'm just gonna go back to my console and pretend to come up with something later that will be completely out of place, but she never does. Really diminished that scene, and also the episode itself, and it really kind of did injustice to Bradley Walsh's character. We're suffering from a problem where you've got too many companions in the show, and none of them are able to really get the full development and attention they deserve. I think if they had made each series, because I think Jodie Whittaker is coming back for another series, God willing, we won't have to wait another couple years just to watch. Hello, Chris Chibnall, get your act together. We shouldn't have to wait a year in between TV shows, or 2 years. It's getting ridiculous. But, especially for a 10-episode season, I mean, there's really no excuse. So next episode I'm going to review is going to be... oh, God, I can't even remember the title, but it's a clunker. And honestly, it takes a rather interesting concept, and I won't say it wastes it, but it's setting up for the 2 closing episodes of the series. So it's... Anyway, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I definitely want to hear from you on this because, again, knowing people who do suffer from, various mental health issues or emotional health issues, more accurately, I kind of want to get your thoughts about this. So, yeah, let me know in the comments below.
It insists upon itself.
If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. Like this video, share it. If you want to help support the channel, keep the lights on, and help us bring you more content, head over to our Patreon or Subscribe Star page. We can't do this without you. Until next time, this is Michael Wilk for The Wilk Report saying take care, good night, I'm out.